everyone. My name is Carmen from Tilson Chiropractic Family Care, and I'm being joined today by Nhyeema, one of our patients who went through the neuropathy reversal program. As you may know, neuropathy may have over 100 known causes, but Nhyeema is one of our more rare cases, so that's why we want to share her story today. So to get started, Nhyeema, how did this all start out for you?
So I got my wisdom teeth, all four, taken out in January, and they prescribed me amoxicillin to prevent an infection with the sockets. So I took it, but then I started getting sick, and I looked at it, and it turned out to be the wrong medication. So that's what caused the initial problem.
Okay. And then how did you find out that it was the wrong medication?
Well, I started feeling really sick after I finished it's like a 3-day course or something like that, and I thought that was odd. So I tried to look at the paper they give you at the pharmacy, because they list all the side effects on there, and it didn't really seem to match with what the side effects were for the correct medication. So I went back and looked at the bottle and the description on the bottle of what the pills were supposed to look like. Didn't match what I had been taking, so that's how I initially found out that it was the wrong thing.
Gotcha. And did you ever end up finding out what the medication was that you were taking?
No, the pharmacy, I asked if they could look at their security footage, because it shows what row and area that they pull the medication out from, to see if they could match that up with what they filled it with. But they refused to do that, and they didn't want to do anything else. And no one wanted to do any blood tests to test what the drug was in my system. So I never found out, and then it was just too late, so I just kind of gave up on it.
Gotcha. So as far as anyone admitting the wrong, I'm going to assume that nobody actually admitted that they did anything wrong?
No.
No? Okay. And then has anything been done to address the situation?
I went to the hospital a lot of times because the medicine made me very sick to where I couldn't eat anything or drink anything. So I was at the hospital very often. I had long stays, and then I would go home and go back again. They did a lot of tests, but the tests really didn't help to figure out what the medication was that caused it. They just kind of noticed the symptoms I was experiencing currently, but they didn't really do any looking at history and things like that to try and figure out what medicine causes the symptoms I had.
Okay, well, that's really unfortunate under all the circumstances. Are you going under any legal actions towards the pharmacy?
I did call a lot of different lawyers, but they all said that because I took all of the medication that nothing could be done, even though I documented everything and I had pictures of what it looked like, and the bottle was still there, which still has residue in it from the pills, but they all just said, well, there are no pills in there, so we can't help you. So I just kind of gave up on that too, because it was stressful.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay. And then, so you already spoke about the symptoms that you were experiencing after taking the wrong medications. How quickly did the symptoms start progressing after all of that?
It was on the day that I stopped taking it. That same day that I ran out of it, I immediately felt sick, and I thought maybe it was something that I had eaten, because it was all stomach and gastrointestinal stuff. So I was oh, maybe I'll just try to eat blander foods or something. Or I think they recommended probiotics for helping your system process things. So I tried that, but that didn't help either. So it just kind of kept going on. But it started immediately after I finished whatever the medication was.
Okay. And as far as, I know you said you went to the ER, right? When you got to the ER, what were the doctors essentially telling you? Were they giving you actual answers?
The first diagnosis I got at the hospital was GERD, which I think is gastroesophageal reflux disease. But GERD is what do you call it? It's a chronic condition. It's not usually something quick, oh, you just have the flu. it's like something that requires constant medication or a certain diet to prevent your body making too much acid, and then the acid comes into your throat and it will like irritate it. So they said that I had GERD at first, and then they changed and they said that I had something else, but I can't remember what it was, but it was also something just kind of like a quick like stomach thing, but they kept diagnosing me with diseases instead of just, oh, this is what your body is experiencing now because of this medication, but once it heals, you should be fine. So all of the diagnoses they gave me were wrong, that pertain to the digestive system. And then eventually they said that I had neuropathy because I started feeling a lot of numbness. So they said that. So that was correct, but everything else was wrong.
Okay. So when they gave you that final diagnosis of neuropathy, like what were the emotions that were coming to you when you got that diagnosis?
I was very confused because everything happened really quickly. And because I didn't really know what the initial cause was, it was all very confusing because I was like, okay, well, they said neuropathy, but is this really it? Is this is all I have? Because everything was so up and down. So I was definitely very confused. I was scared, especially reading a lot of things about neuropathy. People were like, oh, I'm 70 years old and I've been dealing with this since 1845, I was like, okay, this is too much. So yeah. I was definitely confused and very overwhelmed and just anxious overall. And
I remember when you first came in, how you said you felt like you were a young 20-year-old in an old person's body. Now, going back on that, how do you feel as far as the journey that you've made since being at that position to where you are now?
I'm very happy with how I am now. I'm pretty much back to normal. Before I couldn't really do anything because it was just, first of all, I couldn't really feel things because I had so much numbness. So walking was hard because I couldn't feel the ground. So when you can't feel the ground, it's very easy to get off balance. So just walking, even in my house, was difficult. And then I had to kind of figure out how to use a cane, which I wasn't used to. And kind of bending with a cane, it makes your back hurt. So there was a lot of different aspects that became uncomfortable just from the numbness. And then there was also a lot of pain. So I wasn't sleeping, and then I wouldn't really feel like eating, and I was just very depressed and unhappy. But now I'm a lot stronger than I was before. I couldn't really get on the floor before. I couldn't really sit on the floor, but I can get down and do that now. I can do squats or stand up or be on my knees or however, and it doesn't really cause me any issues now. So that's really nice.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that we're all very excited with all of the progress that you've made, and just how the demeanor you come in with now is just completely different.
Yeah.
And we're really proud of you for all the work that you put in to get here as well.
Yeah.
So how did you end up finding Tilson Chiropractic?
I think I just Googled different clinics that dealt with neuropathy, and I was trying to find something that didn't necessarily only accept insurance, because the insurance I had at the time was not good and they just kept rejecting things. So I was trying to find someone that would accept just normal payments or care credit or something like that. And then Tilson had very good reviews as well. So I really liked that. So I think I just did everything online, but I'm glad I chose it.
We're glad you did too.
Yeah.
So can you kind of go in depth about how you felt when you first came in here?
I think just at the time, because I was hearing so many different opinions from so many different neurologists and gastroenterologists and psychologists and just all biologists. But they kept telling me different things. So I was excited about this, but I was still very apprehensive because I kept getting told different time frames, and you should be better in 2 weeks or 5 years or something. So I was excited, but also nervous because I wasn't sure if it would really help. Yeah.
So when you did start the program, what did the therapies look like at home for you?
I'm I drank that solution. I can't remember what it was called.
The Vasopro.
Yeah. I drank that, I think twice a day or 3 times a day or something like that. I would drink that, and then I had the things that I like wrapped around my legs. I can't remember the name of anything. Oh my God.
Yeah,
but you know what else? It's like you work here. But yeah, I did that, the therapy where I wrapped the things around my legs, and then there was one where you fill like a tub up with water and you put the things in it. You probably know what it's called again.
Yeah.
But I did all of those, I think like 2 or 3 times a day. I tried to do it every day. I would also try to do it while I had like a movie on or I was working or something else, so I wasn't like focused on it, because it was kind of uncomfortable at first. Just having anything like in that area was uncomfortable. So it helped to do it while I had something else going on to kind of distract me from it. But I did stay pretty strict with doing it every day, or at least every other day, just to make sure I was doing what I was supposed to.
Yeah. And then how long until you started to see or feel changes after you started the program?
I think probably like three weeks maybe, I think, is when I started to notice that there's less sensitivity, because I was very sensitive to different temperatures. But it was difficult because I couldn't stand to have anything on my feet or legs. So I'd be cold, but I can't like put anything on them. So I would have to keep like a heater with me all the time. Hospitals were very cold, so that didn't help either. But I noticed even standing like in front of the fridge when I'd open it and there was like a rush of like cold air, even that was painful before. So obviously I go to the fridge every day. So that's when I think I first noticed, I'm like, oh, I opened the fridge and it didn't like hurt. So I think that was the first time that I noticed, and that was in like the first 3 weeks, I think.
Awesome. And then I think we kind of, when I asked you the question, like, how are you feeling today? Like, let's say today, right now, how are you feeling?
I feel pretty much normal. I don't really notice, like, I used to be constantly aware of my legs and like my lower body just in general, because it was always uncomfortable. Even sitting in like certain seats was just, a normal chair was uncomfortable, because it would cause my legs to go numb, I think just from the pressure. So I feel pretty much completely normal now. I don't really have much pain at all. Sometimes I get some sensitivity, but it's really not as bad as before at all. It's not very noticeable at all. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really amazing. And would you end up recommending us to friends or family?
Yeah. I don't have any family that has these issues, but if I did, yeah, I would. Even people that are strangers, I would recommend it. Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate that, and thank you for choosing us to
Of
help
course.
you.
Yeah, no problem.